Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today is August 16th, 2024. This is the Daily AI Show, and you are listening and watching us hopefully live. We're here every weekday, Monday to Friday, doing a new live show. And today we're going to be doing a little bit of a tool review, talking about Opus Clip, but more specifically, their ClipAnything new features that they came out. With us today, we have Junmi, Andy, Beth, and I'm Brian. And heads up, this is mostly going to be a Junmi show because he is our resident expert when it comes to Opus Clip. So let's just set the stage here really quick and talk. So before I'm going to bring up the screen here. And then Junmi, why don't you give us sort of a overview first of what Opus Clip is, and then we'll look at the screen here and we can kind of talk about what ClipAnything is as a, I don't know, would we call it a new feature, or is this like, do you see this as a full overhaul of Opus Clip?
No, it's a new feature.
Okay.
So yeah, let's start with a quick overview of what Opus Clip is. So Opus Clip is part of the new batch of AI-powered video repurposing tools. Okay? So a lot of content that gets created is in long form, right? And just to take advantage of all of the great content that's in those long form videos, you want to edit them down for social media or your other platforms, or just little snippets of particularly good pieces of information, right? And so normally that's a manual process. So you got to go into your editor, like, you know, Adobe Premiere or something like that, and find those bits, cut them out, you know, put your captions on them or however you want, graphics, overlays, things like that. Then once all that editing's done, then you upload them to your social platform of choice. Now, this adds a lot of time and effort to make sure that that gets done. So Opus Clips and other tools like it came about to streamline that process. Right. So what they'll do is they'll ingest your video, usually directly from wherever you've hosted your long form content, such as YouTube and other platforms like that. They will apply their AI model to it, which has been trained to identify what they think is key moments or key mentions and things like that. And most of them function about the same, right? They function in the same way. They'll use the transcript, right, to identify what the themes are, where the beginning and ending of a speech is, or, you know, a talking point, and then bring that out into a clip, right? They'll do analysis on the dialogue, but it all really it's text-based, right? And they provide a text-based editor, much like other tools that we've talked about, like Descript and things like that. Now, the most cool thing about the ClipAnything feature is it's no longer text-based editing. It's no longer identifying through the transcript. It's actually doing video analysis. So their new model that's used by ClipAnything does video analysis. It analyzes the video frame, and it's able to pull out elements and identify objects and segmentation in the video itself. And that's what makes it such a great leap forward, because that allows you to really analyze and find things in the video that you provided.
So real quick, before you keep going, I want to bring up just a question for you. So would we consider ClipAnything now to be truly multimodal based in your experience? And what is it closer to what we would see with a Google Gemini, which is a LLM that was built, quote unquote, from the ground up as a multimodal model? Does it feel, we're going to get into it, but does it feel more like that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the process, if you are familiar with Opus Clips or other tools like that, they made it in such a way that this is an added value. You will not, your experience will be fairly the same as part of the process. You'll just get a lot more capability when you go and make your clips from your long form. So what I'd like to do is first go ahead and add this screen to show you what the interface is like. Now, if you joined us for other times that we've talked about Opus Clip or shown various aspects of the app, or you have experience with the app itself, you'll notice that everything's changed. They're currently on their version 3 of their UI, or version 3 of their product. Much cleaner, easier to navigate. I'm a big fan overall, and far more responsive. I think that's the biggest takeaway for any of these advancements that are in these, web app, web capable services, these SaaS products, things like that, is all the early MVPs or the early offerings worked, but they were quite slow, right? You have to wait for each feature to load, and when you clicked on something, then it would take a second or two to load up. This is much better. Not perfect, but far better. So let's do a quick overview of what the UI elements are, right? So that when you finally sign up and log in, this is essentially the interface that you'll get. As you can see here, this is where we'll put in our YouTube link or wherever we've hosted the long form. And it really is quite an easy process, right? So for example, if I were to quickly grab a YouTube link of our show, and then grab, let's say, this video here, right? So we want to grab actually, we can just copy the link here, all right? And then just pop this in here, and it will try and load the video, look at, everything that's going on, and then give you, this is the interface that you get once it's found it. I can recognize that it is the right video. And this is where we get all of the good stuff of how we want to clip things. So they have their basic model and then the ClipAnything model, right?
So there was a message that popped in at like right after it loaded the video.
Mhm.
What did that say?
So right now, that was talking about clip length. So my default is when I'm going through the process of clipping, I want to identify clips that are in these ranges, up to 59 seconds, up to 90 seconds, up to 3 minutes, and up to 5 minutes. And this is the reasons why I've specifically chose these is because we release content both on YouTube Shorts, which is 1 minute or less, and TikTok, which is now technically up to 60 minutes. But we try not to put too long of a piece up there on TikTok. Now you can, of course, just auto, but the auto recognition of the clip only recognizes up to 3 minutes by itself. And the error message in particular was they have a B-roll feature, all right? So this has been something that's been in Opus Clip since version 2, where you can ask Opus Clip to check their libraries and the services they're connected with to find appropriate B-roll for your video. So much like a lot of the auto editors and web-enabled video editors, there's options to bring in B-roll or search for other resources. There's usually a library of templates. You can upload your own branding, all of these kinds of features, because they're really designed to find, repurpose your long form content, right? If you are working with long form, and when I say long form, I'm talking like 20 minutes or more. That's arbitrary, but when you're working with content that long, you usually will get better responses if you have a desktop based NLE or nonlinear editor, such as Adobe Premiere or whatever your favorite flavor is, DaVinci Resolve or Apple's Final Cut. And so when you're dealing with those long form, you need better responses, more memory, things like that. And so you'd want to use those kinds of apps as opposed to something like Opus Clip or Descript on average. Though I will say Descript is coming out with more and more features to allow for those kinds of long form editing, but that's for another episode. So I'm going to continue on and talk about this interface. So one of the interesting aspects here is they've created various genres, right? So if you really want to dial in and instruct the AI for Opus Clip into like what you're working with. So you notice there's a bunch of different sports and things like here. So if, for example, if you were doing a show on that showed footage of a college football game, then this genre, which is all pre-trained information and data for the model to help you extract from that kind of video. All right. Now, normally, most of the time, I'll just let the AI detect because it does a really good job of figuring out what your genre is. Now, us, we're fairly consistent, so we definitely follow in the podcast and the news, but a lot of time we'll have stories that cover science and tech or entertainment, right? And each of those is a different genre. So instead of me picking out for each video, my default is let the AI detect, and it does a good job of it. Now, one of the newest features that that's client facing that I think is probably the most powerful part of the new ClipAnything is the ability to prompt, right? Now, in the basic version, you could still do keywords, right? So if you knew that in your video, you talked about certain topics or you mentioned certain keywords, like let's say it was a football game and you were mentioning a specific team name, right? You could bring that out, right? If there was a certain kind of story, you knew that it was a hard science story, you could probably put in the science or the scientist or the university that a research paper came out of or anything like that, and it would help find it. But with the prompt, as you can see examples here, the prompt allows you to really expand your method of pulling out the best parts of a video. Right. And so I did that with quite a few videos, just as an example. So before I move on to the specific prompt examples, are there any questions? No? Okay.
Well, I was going to say, I don't know that I have specific questions about the prompt examples, but I thought maybe could you just take a minute here and explain before you go into examples, like maybe some of the challenges you've run into at this point. Our show's a little unique. We have up to 7 of us on a screen that are in different size boxes, and we don't all have 2 camera shot. So although StreamYard will give you all of our individual videos, which is super, super helpful. So you always have, like, for instance, for our users, our listeners, at the end of this video, at the end of this show, Jimmy will have my camera, whether I'm speaking or not, he'll have my camera as an individual video, and you have all of that to play with. And then, of course, you have this shot right here, what everybody's looking at, which is at the moment, we're all stacked on the left and we're sharing a screen. You will also get a video of just sharing the screen. So it's not that there's a lack of types of content, right, Jimmy, that you're getting, but where I guess what I would love to share with our audience is, it's not a perfect system, or it hasn't been a perfect system. So can you just sort of level set, like, where the roadblocks have been in terms of, like, maybe our show, just to help our listeners understand, where we're sort of restricted at the moment, or maybe this new prompting has fixed that, or ClipAnything, just so we can see that roadmap.
Gotcha. Okay. So a little background. as part of our process, right? Like Brian had said, once we do our stream, we get up to 8 streams to edit, right? So there is our multicam, which is our wide shot where everybody's on the screen, and then everybody has their individual feeds. Okay. Now, in our edit of the video, we go through a process of weaving our show, taking out, any of the inevitable flubs or technical glitches that we run into, and edit it for a more cohesive narrative. And so I will take all of those streams, and I'll download them, and I will do an edit locally onto my system. Now, we are geared to try and respond in a quick fashion, right? We want to get the live stream out, then we want a better produced, better edited version to go out there and live out on the internet. So if, months down the line, somebody comes and finds us, they'll have the best experience, right? But we need to do that on a daily basis. We're one of the few shows out there that is doing it every single day, every single weekday. So we need to be able to mitigate the amount of time that's spent, right? And so where a repurposer comes in, like Opus, is in that part of it, is in repurposing the content. So once we put out the edit, it's got the various feeds. We cut to Brian, we cut to Andy, we cut to Beth. Especially when they're talking about a specific topic, right? There's times when we can talk for 3 or 4 straight minutes about a subject, right? And that kind of needs to break up and things like that a little bit. So in that, once that edit's done and that's put onto YouTube, we now need to show off what are these little story clips, what are these content pieces, and that's where the Opus Clip comes in, right? If I were to do it manually, it would take me hours because I have to go through everything. If I wasn't on the show, it'd probably be a little easier because I could watch the show and then go, oh, at minute 3, Brian has a fantastic point. Okay. At minute 7, Andy's got great, and then, Beth closed out the show fantastically. All right, there's my 3 clips for the day, right? And then I could go in, edit it, spruce it up, add some captions and things like that, and then put that on the social media channels. Now,
so I was just going to say really quick, I think that's a really important point, Jimmy, because we, as a fairly new show, we're just over a year old. This is 270 episodes. We are experiencing, I think, what many content creators out there or aspiring content creators would be running into, which is you're trying to trade time for money, for efficiency with money. And there's not, we don't have unlimited funds, right? We're not at a point yet where the show where it's self-sustaining, meaning like we're not bringing in enough with like ad revenue or anything like that, where we're even covering the cost of the show. Admittedly, right? StreamYard has a cost, and Opus Clip definitely has a cost and all that. By the way, Justin was asking about pricing. We'll definitely get to that, Justin, and make sure we cover it. But I think you just bring up a good point, Jimmy, which is in our particular case, we're producing a lot of volume, way more than probably a lot of content creators are in this AI space. And that produces its own problems. Trade, in this case, like money, Opus Clip or whatever, to make sure that this stuff gets turned around very, very quickly, that the different clips are going out. And it's not like there's 6 of us working on this. In this particular instance, Jimmy, you are the one doing all the video. It's not that me or Beth or Andy couldn't, but you're definitely the one that handles it because all of us have different jobs and roles or responsibilities. So I just wanted to bring it up. And first of all, give you kudos where it's due, because you are the one that produces all the content and makes it look good on YouTube after the live show, on the same day. 99% of the time it's on the same day within hours, and then the clips go out within 24 hours in most cases. And If you didn't have a tool like Opus 2 or others, like a Descript or whatever, this would be, I would think, almost nearly impossible for one person to try to handle, like you said, while you're on the show. You don't have the ability to just be the producer, and sit in the background in the green room off camera and pull all the strings. And I think that's very common for the typical content creator, is early on, and probably for several years, unless you just strike gold, it's probably going to be you. So that's why we like going over tools like this. And when we find AI tools that we are using and that we understand that are making a difference, yes, you're trading money, but what is that value there? So I just wanted to bring that up. I know you're going to get into this. We can get back and share your screen. But I just want to make sure we brought that up because, you are doing a lot of work, but as you point out, it would be almost impossible, if it would be impossible, without these newer AI tools.
Exactly. So yeah, let's go ahead and dive back in. And let's see here. So where we left off was the prompt feature, right? So let's go ahead and show what those prompts can do, right? So I ran some of our previous episodes back through the process, and just to see what kind, if I gave a specific prompt, or if I gave a or if I didn't give any prompts or anything along those lines. Now, I will start off by saying that Opus Clip does give a ClipAnything prompts manual. It's not, very in depth, but it does give you some basic guidelines, and it gives you some examples to try. So all of the examples and the prompting that I've done, that I'm going to show you today, are all elements of these prompts from the prompting manual. Okay.
So points for trying is really what we're saying. They released the feature, and they're not waiting for everybody to just figure it out on their own.
Well,
Thank
yeah,
you,
exactly. And the reason I know I've talked to Beth about this in the past is everybody hates doing documentation, and apparently all new tech startups in the AI world don't like to do documentation. And so whenever I see a new feature released and they release documentation in tandem, big kudos. Like you said, great job. All right, so let's go ahead and go through some of these examples. So once your video is done processing through this step, right, you'll get back to here, and they'll display all of your projects here. You can see we have tons of our shows on here. All right. And once you pop into those, this is the interface that you get, right? So all your navigation on the sidebar is still pretty standard, but they give you a clear virality assessment here, right? And they give you your different abilities to go into the edit, to schedule, or to download it. Okay.
And Jimmy, just really quick for our watchers here, are we now looking at ClipAnything? Because I definitely want to make sure we get to those functions and features.
Yes,
but are we looking still at Opus Clip like where it is today? Because I'm not quite sure at this point what I'm looking at.
Sure. This is the standard episode, or the standard long form turned into clips interface, right? This is your library.
So we're not at ClipAnything.
We are in ClipAnything.
We are. Okay.
Yes. So Opus Clip, they have their interface. Like I said, this is V3. This is their third version. It's the same UI, the same UX, but it's a new model that you're choosing, the new feature, right, through that ingestion process that that you are allowed to choose the new model. And you can see here, this is where ClipAnything is in this upper corner here. So this is what lets you know that you have used that model. Now,
perfect.
So what you'll notice here, though, between these two here, is the prompt is here, and this is when I didn't give it a prompt at all, right? So if you've given it a prompt, it shows you what your prompt was, shows you what the model that you used, right? how much footage you put in there, and the name of the file, or the YouTube link or whatnot that you gave it, right? So in this case, this was episode 261. Now, I had asked it to show me whenever the hosts refer to people from the live chat, right? And so it's going to use that as part of the scene analysis. So you see a few tags here that look like hashtags or keywords and things like that. These are tags to identify what part of, or to identify parts of the scene that has been analyzed. So if you look over here, this is where it kind of breaks down what your matches are, right? And these are not set, right? Some of these are predefined, like an emotional story or top moment or a compilation, viral snippet. Those are predefined tags, right? There's predefined analyses. But because in the prompt I was mentioning mentions from the live chat, or the host, or related is the live stream, right? Whenever there was any of those kinds of references or those scenes that it recognized, it went ahead and created an analysis tag. And I can filter, through these, which ones I want to see. Like if I only wanted to see anything that was an emotional story, then those are filtered out. So only things with the emotional story tag comes up. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and go back to that. And so after the video is analyzed, you can obviously get the transcript on here to show you what that should be said in the video. But I'm going to go back a little bit here. I don't have the audio shared, but since we have the captions, so it spelt it like the company as opposed to their name, but this is a mention when Beth in this episode mentioned something that Cisco had brought up in chat. So you can see that the ClipAnything model has looked at the video and compiled these various clips where any of the hosts have mentioned anyone from the live chat. So that's just an example of this particular prompt. Any questions at this point?
No, I think that's really cool. I mean, I think that really, levels up the functionality of this, because, I know one of the issues I've certainly run, not with Opus Clip, I haven't used Opus Clip like you have, but certainly in Descripted stuff or the other video ones, is that you don't feel like when you say, go ahead, AI, and do it, you do feel like you lose control. And then in my experience, at least on the Descript side, I don't use the AI one. This is if I'm just clipping my own video. What I'll do from time to time is take my own feed, like what I'm talking about right now, and it'll only show me. It won't show any of the screen or anybody else. And of course, there'll be minutes and minutes and minutes of me being quiet, and then also it'll start talking. So it's just quiet and then content and quiet and content. Otherwise, I'm just sitting still on the camera. But even with that, those long periods of quiet, I find that at least in Descript, the AI has a hard time determining what is valuable and what is not. You often would get clips that are really just not usable. And you think, okay, well, that was kind of a waste of my time. So I love this feature because it really makes it feel like, oh, I have a little bit more control of focusing the LLM and saying, hey, this is, an inspirational story, a firefighter story, right? Like when Brian mentioned firefighting, and you can put that in and say, let me find those. Or how many times have we mentioned Opus Clip, and we could find that as well. So I think it's really, really, really cool. And sorry, keep going. But I wanted to point out that is a big upgrade, at least in my experience, as far as this AI video editing.
Yeah,
Right.
and to that point, and I swear this isn't a setup, we do actually have a question from Cisco, spelled with an S, about how much time would you say it saves you? Like, or is it 2x faster? I just know that if this wasn't possible, we wouldn't be producing shorts, right?
Yes. So we try and release at least 3 shorts each day. Sometimes it's a little more, sometimes it's a little less, depending on what's available or what we think is found. And that's both for YouTube Shorts and for TikTok. So we can't necessarily release the same clips on both platforms. So that's potentially 6 different clips each day, right? And so, and I'm sure as we grow and things get bigger, and and we do more content, that will increase as well. So it's not very scalable for a single person, right? And so you'd need a tool like Opus Clips to mitigate that time. So if we're talking like specific, I would say it at least saves me, at a minimum, saves me 10 hours a week. At a minimum.
Wow.
Yeah. Because I'd probably be spending at least 2 hours then that, to try and get one set of clips out there. If I have the opportunity to watch through the whole episode before I can start editing, or if I take that time, if I add that time as part of the process, that means you add on an extra 45 minutes. Right. Because, I can't necessarily run through it at 1.5 speed, maybe, to get the highlights. Otherwise I'll miss it, and a lot of the choices are context based. So having the Opus Clip and having the AI model to just evaluate, it really helps,
Right. And
because I don't necessarily have to make the decisions off of the raw footage. I can make the decisions off of the clips that it's found. And the fact that it gives a virality score and it explains, each component of that and what we can see once we've released the clip. And I can tell you there are some that if I choose the top 5, right, or the top 6 from the Opus Clip, they do better than the mid or the bottom half. And we get about 20 or so clips out of an episode. So that's a great indicator and helps you choose what kind of clips as well. So it's also a great tool to get into if you don't have a lot of experience, choosing what might be a good clip, right? Now,
Can I
ahead.
just jump in for context? Yeah. The sort of thing that is closest to this is the text-based editing that Brian was talking about that he does in Descript. Junmi is very methodical about this stuff. So there was a month where he tested that, and now is not time saving or helpful or as viral, right? And also Junmi, you use Premiere, which also has text-based editing, or
Yeah,
has it. Yeah.
Yeah, Adobe's recently added that. In a lot of ways, Adobe does play catch up in the AI world. But
or they just buy Opus Clip or something. Integrate it.
Yeah. Like some of the newest features for their Firefly capabilities and things like that is all going to tie in multimodal models to fill in the gap and things like that. So as an incumbent, we've seen various incumbent companies, they may be slow on the take, but they catch up really quickly. And since they have that install base, they already have all the users that they need to appease and add features to and things like that. But I digress.
And I want to say one last thing before we jump back in and you sort of, take us to the end here. Just talking about text-based, because I I think I went on vacation, honestly, and that's why I got out of the habit of it. But I was basically just trying to assist Jimmy with creating more clips and stuff. And so I said, well, listen, I'll take my own clips and try to create more content out of that. And I was. It was at least an hour extra a day. Not that that was necessarily bad, because I was producing 3, 4, 5 clips out of it. I was using the script. The reason there's some upside to the tech space to it, in my case, is just listen to the way I'm talking right now. Even though I think I'm talking in a very linear way, I will often interrupt myself and say, but you got to also think about this thing, right? There's a lot of commas in my normal conversation because this is a live show. I'm not reading off a teleprompter. So my brain goes this way, my brain goes that way, whatever. Okay, now just take what I just said, that last 30 seconds, what I said, and put that into script. It doesn't make a good clip, because what was my point? What was I trying to say out of that? So I did find, at least with a text-based inline editor, that I can get rid of a lot of side quests in my conversations, which can take, in my case, because I'm a talker, it can take a good 3 minutes of me talking and make it, and really honestly make it over and over a 50-second clip. That's extreme maybe, but let's just go from a minute and a half to 50 seconds. That's 40 seconds shaved off that wasn't super important. Now, we've all seen the clips all over TikTok and YouTube where it almost is over clipped. And so it's like you, but be, ooh, you know, and it's like they're clipping every other word. You're like, it's almost hard to watch. So there is a line there. So I will just say, for a text-based editor, there is value there, especially for those types of use cases. And look, that's Opus Clip is great too. It really, what it's going to ultimately be, right, Jimmy, is this is going to be part of the entire system we use. Now, we use StreamYard. We've certainly looked into Riverside. We've looked into other tools. What are we looking for? Some hybrid version that's really good of all of the above, that when we say end show, it immediately starts processing clips at the quality of Opus Clip, ClipAnything. And then Jimmy just goes, hey, like 30 minutes after the show is over, there's just a dashboard of whatever the AI thought the greatest clips were of today's show. And they're just sitting there ready for them. We're not there yet, but to quote Matt Wolf, who we do oftentimes, he's got a great YouTube channel, this is the worst it'll ever be. And it's getting pretty good. So anyway, back to yours as you take us to the end here. But just remember that this is what you're seeing today is already a 10-hour time saver for Jimmy per hour. And that's minimum. And I think you definitely undershot it. I think it's definitely closer to 15 or 20 sometimes. But okay, 10 minimum time savings per week, just where we are today. Just think of where that's going to be in 3, 6, 9 months and how much better the quality is. And when you talked about B-roll, look, we all can see what's coming with B-roll. That will be AI generated as well. It'll be fully AI generated. It'll be something net new that's not some saved clip that's got no copyright infringement. It'll literally be something created out of a Runway or a Sora or whatever the video tool of the day is. And that will be your B-roll. So that's all coming too. When we know it is, it's just like how much time between now and then, and how can we still use these tools today to make a really big impact on the work that we're doing.
Okay. So there's just a couple more things. And this kind of speaks to what you're talking about, Brian, with the text editing. First, I wanted to show something that would allow you to see, or allow people to see, how the let our viewers see the elements of the video analysis itself. All right. So in this prompt, I asked it to find all the scenes with laughing. So if you can see everything in that shot, let me see if I can bring it back. If you can see everything in that shot, we've got smiling faces. You can see clearly that Brian's this is from our 1-year show where Brian is joining us from the car.
Yeah.
He's laughing and smiling. Andy's laughing and smiling. Beth is laughing, smiling. Of course, I am laughing and smiling here. And so this is the ClipAnything model, finding the part of the show where we're all laughing and smiling about, a joke that was mentioned, or, a funny moment. So this really highlights to me the capabilities of the multimodal model, right? There's nothing in here that is, if you look at the transcript, there's no words that it's drawing this from. It's pulling this from the actual scene itself. Oh, this person's smiling and looks like they're laughing, and that's why
it's super cool, by the way. That is super cool.
Yeah. All right. And so now I wanted to end with a shot of what their editor looks like.
Ooh, an Andy shot. I'm ready.
Yeah. And so here is a clip that I've gone into. I've gone into the edit feature, and we were talking about text-based editing. This is the editor in Opus, right? We can edit the words, we can remove the caption, we can remove the caption and the video. That's essentially the edit cut from there. Or we can use the nonlinear editor here, and we can make a split, right? Let's say we wanted this to be 2 separate scenes. Okay. So we have all these options. And like I said, the only thing that this kind of editing or this kind of editor it's more primed for the shorter clips, because you only have so much memory, and your brain, it's all loaded into your browser and all of these kinds of things. So you don't want to edit a 40-minute video through one of these kinds of editors. But just to give you an example of what these future steps that we're going to see, right? We can do text overlay directly from here. They have multicam capability, right? So, and what these transitions between multicam. And when I say multicam, I really mean like multi-scene. So it's found it's found its clip. You're editing just this clip, but you can select multiple multiple scenes and then have a transition added to whether you want to wipe, fade in, those kinds of things. And recently, a much quieter feature release is they have added in beta a voiceover feature. You can use the base voices that they have, and if you've ever heard of these voices, they're from 11 Labs. So they've tied in 11 Labs voice generation for your videos. You put in your script, you choose your voice, some of the more tone options, and then you can generate the voiceover for your video. So if you are interested in if you're interested in adding additional elements, or if you were worried about what kind of videos Opus Clip can repurpose and what kind of editing options you can add to it, they, like you said, Brian, they keep on getting better. They keep on adding additional features.
So you're telling me with this voiceover that if Carl, who's not here today, so I'm going to pick on him, starts going off the rails on Google, and we can see we're losing him on the live stream. You're saying you could make a clip and it'd be like a la Shawshank Redemption over voiceover, where it pauses and it goes, at this point, Carl had clearly left the station on Google, where you didn't know if we were going to get him back. So you're saying we could create fun clips like that if possible.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, exactly. And if in our last couple of episodes, our diehards will know in the live stream, Carl's had a few mic issues. So if we wanted to keep that in, especially when he was going off describing something, absolutely, we could take one of these voices, we could put in what Carl thought he said, and then it would just cut into those voices. Now, I would really love it if we get to a point, and I'm sure they will, allow you to upload your own voice. And it's like, oh, I totally flubbed that. Hold on, let me put in my voice.
And the script has that. The script has that. So it's certainly possible. You can train on the script, and I won't say it's seamless, but the idea being is if you just totally say the wrong, I mean, we talk about so many companies and stuff. It's like, we'll say, oh, such and such a website, and we meant a totally different company, we just said the wrong one, then you should be able to swap that out with the right name to it, and which would fix it both on the audio and in the captions. So it exists, but yeah, how soon would Opus Clip? I don't know, but it definitely is something that exists. It's coming. I do have another question though about a feature. Maybe you're about to show it, but hold on really quick. I'm just going to show this super quick. So on their website and on ClipAnything from Opus Clip, they talk about this reframe anything into social ready clips. Now, this is something that I know we have struggled with, because when we're in this frame, oftentimes what you would like to do in a clip is say like, well, it's a 4-frame, it's a 4-box, but I only want to show Brian because I'm the only one talking right now. And that appears that you could somehow draw a square around me and just make that a square clip or a 16:9 clip. Is that possible? Because I feel like that has been a pain point we have definitely struggled with.
Right. So there's a couple of things. Number one, the reframe, you'll notice it has alpha there. So we don't have access to that yet. Okay. But that is the next feature that they're trying to release. What's really nice about the reframe anything is it's supposed to be reactive. So it's on the fly, right? In most of these editors, when you want to change the aspect ratio, right, it will either, like how Opus Clip does it, you've preset it to what the ratio it is, and it has all the basic presets: 16:9, 9:16, 4:3, 1:1, all of those, but it applies it sort of like a template, right? So once it's applied, that's it. So their reframe anything is supposed to add the feature of adjusting what it would be and what you want, right? That will be a great feature when it becomes available. And I'm sure I will dive deep in, and if Opus Clips wants to give me alpha access, that would be fantastic. Thank you so much.
I mean, we're doing an entire show about them. I mean,
I'm just saying, and yes, I'm totally going to add them on TikTok and YouTube.
Send us a free couple credits. You know what I mean? Just come on, throw a couple our way.
So, I mean, that pretty much wraps up all of those key features. The things I wanted to highlight were primarily the prompting option, or the prompting feature, which allows you to really expand how in depth you want the AI model to analyze the video, right? Whether that's just extracting specific points, compiling specific points. One of the demos they gave as part of their larger demo day was that it's great for sports clipping, right? Because they showed when they can just say, oh, choose your favorite sports star, all of their show all of their scores that they made, right, in a game, and then compile it. That's one of the things that I really liked about Opus Clip is the back-end processing does compile the relevant mentions. So in some of our videos, we'll talk about a particular topic, in the mid-roll, and then we'll go back to a topic maybe 10 minutes later and just reiterate. And Opus Clip can compile those into scenes. You can do it manually, of course, but it's really good at finding those kinds of things, right? And again, I'll reiterate, not perfect, but it's getting closer and closer to that point where I don't have to do any additional editing. And the reframe anything feature coming out, that will help so much when I'm trying to take a clip for YouTube Shorts and TikTok and and change their aspect ratio as needed. So, unless there's any other questions, I think I've gone through everything that I really wanted to highlight.
That was awesome, Jimmy. Thank you for the details. And I think it's super cool because a lot of people don't have access to the ClipAnything portion of Opus Clip. You just got it this week. So the fact that you're able to turn that around and put it together for the show is like super, super cool. So if you are looking into Opus Clip or you're looking into ClipAnything, you're seeing that, like, as far as we can see into the future. And of course, there's some things that are alpha that we don't have access to yet, but this is all less than 2 weeks old. type stuff. So this is super cool. Hopefully a lot of people get a lot of value out of this. Now, look, upcoming next week, we have 5 more shows, obviously. We're going to be talking about, Rosie from the Jetsons on Monday. We're going to be talking about like home personal robots. That's in the story, Figure 2, Tesla bot, all these things. We've talked about this before, but based on some conversations with Carl, he's had us laughing about different things and taking out the recycling and things that he wants at his home. It's time to really talk about, okay, let's snap a finger. We all get access to Rosie. What is that? Do we want that in our house? Do we want it to be like a Roomba, or do we actually want it to be a humanoid type robot that's walking around and, maybe faces the corner until you're ready to have it do something? Like, is that the future we're actually looking for? I think it's an interesting conversation. On Tuesday, we're going to be talking about the rise of AI in the fast food industry because of what McDonald's has been doing with their menus. Like I was mentioning earlier in the week, how it's actually helping people spend more money, not helping, but helping McDonald's help people spend more money because it's taking some of the human interaction and they're spending longer at these things, and AI can actually increase ROI when it works well. So we're going to be talking about that. Wednesday, we have the news. Thursday, we're going to be talking about an Ethan Malik topic where he talked about the Pareto problem and how it applies to AI. That'll be super fun. And then next Friday is going to be our 2-week recap show. So I'm going to end it by actually sending it to you, Andy, on the spot, because I don't think you've said anything on this entire show, despite the fact you've been here. So Andy, what are you the most excited about out of all those topics for next week?
Well, robotics clearly is a thing, and the sophistication of robotics has been accelerating at an exponential pace. So I'm really looking forward to demonstrations on Monday of what we can do with embodied AI.
I'm with you. Don't forget, you can go to the website, dailyishow.com, and you can get all the information. We'll have another newsletter going out this Sunday. If you want to be on that train, just make sure you subscribe before Sunday around 8 a.m. Eastern, and you should get it. Maybe give it a little more than that, but let's say midnight on Saturday. If you subscribe to the newsletter, you will get the very next episode. And I'm putting that together right now. It's got all sorts of goodies in it that were not on the live show. So if you want to do more deep dives, you got to sign up for that newsletter. It is, of course, free, and we do not spam you. We just send you out 1 email a week, as we said we would. So that's it, guys. Have a great weekend. Super fun conversations all the way through. And we will see you guys again on Monday to, as Andy said, talk about robots. See you then.
Aloha.